I guess you've gathered by now that I'm not really a depressed person. I'm actually a therapist. I'm the first Australian qualified in a new approach to dealing with depression. So what do I do then as a therapist? Well, as I said, the first thing, lower that emotional arousal, and that quite often is therapeutic in itself. People experience for the first time in some months, for many of them, what it's like to have a brain that's cleared and it's actually functioning. They can make assessment, they can think about things they haven't thought about. So that in itself is therapeutic. It's a great start, lowering that emotional arousal. Now you'll notice that I'm starting to deal with an emotional problem where the problem originates, and that's in the emotional brain. A lot of traditional approaches, they work on the thinking, do a lot of explaining and a lot of getting people to think in a way so that they're less emotionally distressed. If it works at all, it takes a long time for one reason, and that is because it's working against the way the brain works. Because emotions are in place before thought, we know that, so it's best to work with the emotional part of the brain, and thinking by and large will take care of itself. So lowering the emotional arousal gives the brain an opportunity to think. And it makes sense really, because the more emotionally charged a person is, the less thinking capacity they have. You've probably never done it, but you might know somebody that's done their block real bad, and then after they survey the wreckage, they say to themselves when their emotion is lowered, what on earth was I thinking? Well, chances were they weren't thinking at all. Daniel Goleman, who knows a lot about emotion, says that emotional arousal can actually hijack the thinking part of the brain. You remember, it's a preparation for action. It's designed for action, not thinking. So lowering the arousal is a crucial first step. The second step is to, now they're starting to think a bit freer, think about something that once gave them pleasure. They enjoyed doing, they were passionate about it. And when they think about it, you can just see the beginning of a smile. Just the memory of it is enough to say, hey, there, that was neat, that was good. I enjoyed doing that. So you explore, instead of their past to try and explain why they're feeling lousy, explore the parts of their past that made them feel good. Made them feel that life and engaging with life had some purpose and meaning. Left them feeling satisfied, fulfilled. And that's a useful exploration to find that. And then the next step is to put in place a simple goal. Remember, we're working towards something that they think about, getting their brain working, they plan and they work through it and they discharge it before they go to sleep that night. So it's only a simple little activity, but the crucial thing is it's got the complete cycle. It begins with the emotional attachment to this thing that they're about to do, and then it's discharged by thinking and action, and then they really appreciate the fact that it's finished, that's discharged, and you will know that there is one less thing to be dealt with during the night's sleep cycle because it was acted out during the day. You could say, hey, that sounds too simple, and in a sense it is very simple. Up until this stage you can get a lot of head nodding. It makes sense, it's doable, and yes, they've got agreement to do that. That's fine. What happens if they leave my room and after a little while they simply don't feel like doing it? And that happens. Why? Because up until now we've really only lowered the emotional for a time, we didn't actually do anything. So the crucial next step is what we call rehearsal, guided imagery, where you actually impact this part of the brain where the feelings originate. What difference does it make? Well, after a successful series of images being implanted in the brain, I say images because this part of the brain doesn't do language, it only has metaphors, images, stories, or the pictures embedded in stories. And that whole process takes place to embed specific images loaded with feelings of satisfaction and pleasure that were with that activity, and then they're actually set up, certainly the next day, to act those out. It's like a script. I have people see me a week later after one session, and we do have a follow-up session, and we talk about other aspects of their life, and then my role moves more from a therapist into a mentor, and the change is simply amazing. When they say that there's brief therapy, that you can impact change for a seriously depressed person in a short space of time, believe me, it happens. Why does it happen? Because it's based on an understanding of not what we thought depression was, but what depression actually is. Simple, fast, and effective. That's why we call it a depression breakthrough. Come here, dog.